From an unbelievable mining blast in Australia that broke a world record, and an entire mountain in Kyrgyzstan that got blown sky high, to a demo project in Sweden that sent a tsunami racing toward our cameraman, and an old power station in England that came down in a cloud of dust. Here are 10 massive industrial demolitions caught on camera. Kyrgyzstan is a landlocked country in Central Asia. It's bordered mainly by the other Stan countries, such as Kazakhstan to the north, Uzbekistan to the west, and Tajikistan to the south. It's home to about 7 million people, most of whom are ethnic Kyrgyz, followed by small pockets of Uzbeks and Russians. They may only account for a small portion of the population, but those Russians are making big moves in the hydropower game. In the early 2000s, a Moscow-based holding company called Inter-RAO got busy blowing up a mountain on the Naran River in Kyrgyzstan. The goal was to use explosives to create a blast-fill dam for the Kambirata 2 hydraulic power plant. Let's just say it worked like a charm. Kambirata 2, or KHPP2, has been in development since 1988. The first turbines came online in November of 2010, and they've been looking to expand ever since. We believe this demolition project took place sometime in 2013. According to a report, the attack plan involved 2 charges placed deep in the mountain. The first and smaller explosion saw 700 tons of TNT loosen the rock, before 2,300 tons of TNT finished the job seconds later. Now, there are plenty of reasons why we blow things up underwater. For example, a harbor may be trying to deepen its waters to accommodate more boats, or a gas company may need to soften the seabed to lay pipes underneath. Sometimes, water just gets in the way. Take this quarry in Sweden, for example. In June of 2010, a Swedish demolition company called Voglers arrived at this waterlogged quarry. Their job was to remove a rock formation that was acting more like a dam. Thankfully, somebody set up a camera to record the blast and subsequent tsunami. From what we can gather, the quarry had 15 meters, or roughly 50 feet of water in it. Voglers used 5.2 tons of dynamite to blow up the rock wall, which sent the tsunami racing toward our camera. Next door in Norway, another demolition team rigged a rocky riverbed with about 1,100 kilograms of TNT. This time, a cameraman recorded the entire thing from the opposite side. Unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan, and he found himself ducking for cover when bits of rock started raining down upon him. We're not sure what this demo team was trying to accomplish. They seemingly rigged all the charges to this one rock. Maybe it was causing some kind of problem on the river. Thanks to all the dust and mist, it's hard to tell how much is left. Now, these underwater explosions are pretty big, but pale compared to the old-school underwater nuke tests. This next clip from the 1950s is a prime example. Between April 28th and August 18th of 1958, the U.S. government conducted 35 nuclear tests in the Pacific Proving Grounds. The first underwater test in the series was Operation Wahoo. It featured a Mark 7 nuclear bomb codenamed Thor, with a payload capable of producing a 9-kiloton blast. In case you're wondering, that's equal to 9,000 tons of TNT. When it comes to underwater demolitions, this could take on any job imaginable. The US government continued testing underwater nukes until 1963, when President Kennedy signed the Limited Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. It officially banned weapons tests or other atomic explosions underwater, in the atmosphere, and in outer space. Whether we're clearing debris, laying pipes, or just blowing things up for fun, underwater explosions provide a unique twist on the classic demolition job. They help visualize the blast wave, which we rarely get to see above ground. And while nuclear tests were some of the coolest underwater explosions around, it's probably for the best that we don't do them anymore. Mines, quarries, dig sites, they all have one thing in common. They're full of rocks. Those rocks prevent miners from extracting the precious metals beneath, so they often turn to explosives to clear a working path. The Blackwater coal mine in central Queensland, Australia, is among the largest in the world. Its coal reserves amount to roughly 877 million tons. Of course, if they want more, they need to blast for it. Blackwater was established in 1967. In 2007, new technologies allowed for a massive boost in production. They wanted to expand, so in 2008, they started blasting. This involved several rounds of overburden removal. In mining, overburden is basically all the rock and soil preventing you from getting to the good stuff. The best way to move it is to simply blow it up. Of course, things can always go wrong when you combine high explosives with flammable materials. Watch how these Blackwater blasts go up in massive balls of fire. Thankfully, these hazards are expected, and demolition teams take every precaution. In 2023, the BHP Mitsubishi Alliance, or BMA, bought Blackwater Mine for $3.2 billion. The same company also owns the Caval Ridge Mine in Queensland's Bowen Basin. In December of 2019, the mine set a world record for the largest electronic blast using wireless technology. Here's what that looks like from the cameras stationed nearby. According to BMA, the world record blast involved 4.7 million cubic meters of overburden and nearly 2,200 tons of bulk explosives. Workers dug nearly 3,900 holes, packed each with dynamite, and ran for the hills. About half a world away in Norway, the Bremanger quarry near Svelgen wanted to set their own personal record. On July 7th of 2016, they safely set off the largest quarry blast in Norwegian history. Teams fitted over 450 blast holes with 68 combined tons of explosives. The blast area, also called the bench, was over 1,200 feet long and about 65 feet tall. Here's what it looks like when 360,000 tons of rock blow up at the same time. not all coal mine blasting is this over the top. Take this clip from the Singrauli coalfields of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, India. This one looked more like a ground-level fireworks show. Clearly, explosives play a significant role in modern mining. From the coal mines of Queensland, Australia, to the quarries of southern Norway, something always needs to go boom. Most people don't think about pipelines all that often. It's funny because we rely on them every second of every day. From flushing the toilet to putting gas in the car, pipelines make our lives way easier than they used to be. Some pipelines are above ground, like Alaska's oil and natural gas lines. Most of the time, they dip underground, which means someone has to get digging. Daikon Blasting Corps is an industry leader when it comes to digging these trenches, and they don't use shovels. Instead, they rig the ground with domino-like charges. This video from 2016 illustrates it perfectly.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire in the hole.
Now this clip comes from the Atlas Pipeline project in Connerville, Oklahoma. It involved Daikon blasting about 23 miles of trench to make way for a 60-mile pipeline. It's easier to rig these snake charges and let them rip when they're out in the middle of nowhere. It almost looks like the sandworm from Dune is coming toward you. But not all pipeline blasting happens in remote areas. How do you think they get water and gas lines to and from your neighborhood? This next Daikon demo is from the South Nashville Connector project. This one proved extra difficult, as the blasting site was close to many homes, businesses, roads, and power lines. You can see a small neighborhood in the background of this next clip. Thankfully, the Daikon team knows what they're doing. They blasted close to 18,000 feet of trench without issue. That was thanks in part to the rubber blasting mats you see over the site. They help prevent debris from the blast from reaching populated areas. This final clip comes from the Sterling Pipeline project, in which Daikon worked with ONEOK, a Tulsa-based natural gas company, to lay over 500 miles worth of pipe from Oklahoma to the Texas Gulf Coast. It involved Daikon blowing up 67,000 linear feet and moving over 3,600 cubic yards of rock. Here's what part of that looks like in real time. So, the next time you run the faucet, turn on a light, or put gas in your car, stop and think about where it's all coming from. Chances are they come from an intricate network of pipes that required some high explosives to lay. Back in the day, the Deauville Beach Resort was the hottest hotel in Miami, Florida. It hosted all kinds of celebrities and major pop culture events. When the Beatles played on Ed Sullivan in 1964, the show was broadcast live from the hotel ballroom. It's where Frank Sinatra liked to stay when he was in Miami. Heck, even President Kennedy checked in a few times. Sadly, a massive fire rendered the historic hotel inoperable in 2017. The owners, however, neglected to make repairs. They said they didn't have enough money or the proper insurance. For the next 5 years, the Deauville sat in gross disrepair. Then, in November of 2022, the city decided to tear it down. As expected, the hotel put on one last show. It's all clapping and cheers until the debris cloud starts floating toward our spectators. Once it clears the trees, the crowd turns on a dime and runs in the opposite direction. Other than the looming cloud, the demolition went off without a hitch. Over 50 years of American history came down in a matter of seconds. Across the pond, 50 years of English history came down around the same time. This one just wasn't as glamorous. The Eggborough Power Station was a landmark in North Yorkshire, England. Construction began on the coal-fired plant in 1962. It featured 8 cooling towers, a 660-foot chimney, and a main boiler house. If you're a Fast and Furious fan, you would have seen the Eggborough station in 2019's Hobbs & Shaw. The power plant shut down for good in 2018. Then, St. Francis Development and Investment Group bought the property for an undisclosed sum. They planned on turning it into a modern industrial site. They just had to blow everything up first. The next 4 towers wouldn't last much longer. They vanished from the skyline a few months later on October 10th. All that remained were the chimney, the coal bunker bay, and the main boiler house. After taking the fall and winter off, demolition crews spent 5 months between March and July rigging everything else to blow. According to the demo team, about 99% of the debris would be recycled and reused within the construction industry. As the saying goes, from death comes new life. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.